Hi, hello everyone to another DoneJS contributor meeting for today is August 17th, 2018. Hello. Just introducing everyone here today. We have Julian. Say hi,
Hey.
Julian. We have Sheriff.
Hi, everyone.
And I am Matthew. We're all three of us from the DoneJS core team. And we're just going to go over what's been happening in DoneJS in the last couple of weeks. First, starting with our statuses. Julian, do you have a status or anything you've been working on that you want to share?
No, not really this time.
Okay. Sheriff, I think you. This is just a stat. We'll do the demos after, but what have you done?
For me, when I was working on an application, I found a bug in component that I fixed. Okay. So the bug was when we used the new component instantiation API. If we try to set view model properties of this component to null, so it throws in an error.
Okay.
So we found the cause of the bug, and I wrote a failing test, and the bug was fixed, and a new patch was released too.
Cool. Cool. Do you all have the? I'm trying to find. I want to drop the link to this Hangout into the Getter. I'm gonna look for it. I don't know how to find that though. Let's see. If I go to youtube.com. Yes, here it is. Okay, I'm just going to drop the link. I can actually see myself live talking about dropping the link. So I'll go ahead and get my status. I've been mostly not working on a whole lot of open source in the last couple of weeks because I've been helping a client upgrade from CanJS 2.3 to 3. So I did find several bugs that got fixed. There was a bug in CanStash when you use the bracket notation that if it was like you're using the bracket notation inside of a call expression where your bracket notation is the second argument and the first argument is also a call expression. It's crazy, like very weird, very specific scenario. There was a bug where that didn't work. Kevin helped me fix that. There was a couple of bugs with CanMap and it's kind of a weird scenario there. So it did find a couple of bugs. There was a long-standing bug in Steel, not long-standing, but a couple of months, where in Steel, I think 1.0 and 2.0, using get plus SSH link as a version number in your package JSON wasn't working. Not all the time, but I think it was. I don't know. Maybe, I think it was when you had like a hash at the end or something. But anyways, that got fixed as well. And I've also just yesterday fixed some memory leaks in DoneSSR that got rolled out. So definitely upgrade to the latest DoneSSR if you haven't. If you've seen that pop up as a new version, definitely upgrade that because that greatly reduces memory usage. So that's it for me as far as status goes. As far as demos, Sheriff, do you want to show off that bug that you had? Sheriff, you're muted if you're talking.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So you see my screen?
Yes.
So the bug was in the new component instantiation API.
Huh?
But when
can you fix the window, please, Matthew?
Oh, I need to point it at Sheriff. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Sheriff, flip back over to your.
Okay.
There you go.
So when we try to, for example, we have a property that we need to, and this property has a default behavior. For example, like in this test, I initialized with that the return just a bar string, and when we instantiate, here is the use of the new component instantiation API, and the null property is initialized with the value null. I don't have the bug now because it is fixed and the component is released. But before the release of this patch, a property like this will throw an error. So after writing this failure test, this bug was fixed very quickly, just to check if the parent is not null, and if for the getter or for the setter of the parent value, and after that all these issues were fixed for our view model. I don't have the stack of the error, but this is the whole idea about how this bug was fixed. That's it for me.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, Justin actually did a YouTube yesterday. Trying to find, I'll drop the link if I can figure out how to do that. But he did a training yesterday about the new constructible components and stuff, and like, you know, an example app where he uses that, building a bunch of modules. So for people, I'll drop that into the DoneJS getter for people who want to check that out. Constructible. That's what I call them. I don't know what the proper name is. All right, I'll do mine. I just released something this morning, actually. It's for, wanted to make it easier, or we've been talking about making it easier to upgrade from a map to a from a can map to a defined map, where it could be even like a can observe object. Any type of observable map types, you can make them have like the .adder API, essentially, is what this does. So the idea here is that, you know, a lot of people have a lot of can maps in their application, and they want to switch to like a defined map, for example. But that involves changing a lot of uses of .adder. But what you really, I mean, and you can do that. You should eventually do that. However, this makes it easier because there are other differences between can maps and like defined maps, for example. And just merely like changing all your adders, you might still have problems in your app. So the idea that I had was, well, if you could just, you know, make it so that your defined maps have a .adder property, you can go ahead and fix like the real problems, you know, like the underlying differences between maps and defined maps, and fix all of those issues and get your app actually working. And then you can go back and like get rid of your .adders and change those and just, you know, into just like property access, property getters and setters as kind of your last thing. So that's the idea here. This is a mix-in. It's called CanMapCompact. I released version 1.0, like maybe an hour and a half ago. So this is very, very new. It does work with, like I said, it works with defined maps. It works with an observe object, which is part of CanObserve. Both of those are tested, and I know that those work. So it adds the .adder property from CanMap, so you can do map_adder key value, or you can just do map_adder key to get the key. You can also it also supports remove_adder. So for defined maps, you can't actually remove a property from a defined map. You can only set it to undefined, which is what this does. So that's just like one example of like a subtle difference between defined maps and maps. I don't think that would cause you any problems, but you know, maybe possibly, I don't know. Like maybe if you did like an in check or something, I'm not sure, but for the most part, this should cover most of your needs. So yeah, this is brand new. Like I said, it's a mix-in. You can define a type and then just pass that into the make map compat function, and that will add the dot adder and the dot remove adder to it. We talked about like extending this out, making it support more of CanMap's kind of stuff. Like it could possibly support CanMap define. So you know, CanMap define is when you have that define property. It could possibly support not completely, but maybe partially support it. We're not necessarily going to add that, but there's also some other stuff that's like CanMap has this like legacy adder behavior special thing. We might be able to support that, but for the most part, the dot adder is the thing that people really need. So when you use this, you will get warnings every time you use dot adder. It will warn you, and this is so that, you know, with the idea of you're going to get your app working, and then you're going to start like finding all those warnings and fixing them.
So will be sealed false on the define map if you make a compat? Or
well, you could do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. That this is not going to enforce that, but that is a good idea of something to do, just because that will allow. But you doing what I think Julian's saying is using seal false. You can add properties that aren't already defined. But with this particular mix-in, it just gives give it a type. So it's not going to seal false for you. It's not going to do that. Maybe it could. I don't know. I don't know if that's. It might be too late at this point because you're already given it a type. I hadn't actually thought of that. Actually, I think I ran into that. I started using this in an app that I'm working on, and I think I might have ran into an issue where something is not defined, not predefined. But the way I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go ahead and define all of those things. I'm really just using this as like a stopgap. You know, I want to get this into the project, make sure it works, and then I'm just going to immediately remove all uses of adder, and then just get rid of it. You know. But yeah, seal false is probably something you might want to do when you first move over to define map. And that is my demo.
Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think we've talked about like making. I don't think there's a code mod for moving from .adder to like define map. Not that I'm aware of. I wish Kevin were here. He'd probably know for sure. It's not. I didn't think so. We talked about having a code mod, which basically adds this to it, you know, to your project. So maybe that's something like maybe it could like replace uses of CanMap with CanDefine map, but then also adds this CanMapCompact thing. I don't know. Any topics you guys want to talk about? I have one, but I want to see if you all have anything.
Maybe for DoneJS 3, it's just a question. I don't know if it's really a topic. If we can initialize and generate DoneJS application in DoneJS 3 with the Can5 routing system, the routing that you presented one time in one of the contributor meetings.
Oh, like the way that Bitballs does it, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if Bitballs is doing it. Has that in there currently. I'm not sure if that got changed yet.
If we can have the app.js start generated with scaffolding routing like this will be great.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Let me see. Well, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm almost certain we are going to do that. No, actually, so it looks like to me that I was going to show Bitballs as an example, but Bitballs is not actually doing this yet. Doesn't look like, unless I'm looking at the wrong branch. Page. Can I show? Here, I'll share my screen. You know, that's definitely something we've talked about doing. So, you know, currently in a DoneJS application, the way that we do routing is we don't really have a way to show the particular component by default. But like, for example, in place my order, we have, what is it? Index.stash, I believe, yeah. This is how we do routing in place my order, is that we have a switch statement in the template based on page, and then you have a bunch of case statements and you show the particular component. But as you see, once you have like nested routes, this becomes, you have to add another switch inside of your case with its own case statements. It becomes very verbose. So with the new constructible can components,
I think Kevin released yesterday an GitHub repository.
An example?
For example, yes. I call this route, it's on CanJS. In the CanJS repo, it's called routing mini app, something like that.
Where it's on the website?
On GitHub. If you go on GitHub and go to the CanJS.
Wait, so let's see if this is it real quick. No, this is just, I think this is the existing guide. Yeah, this is using a switch. Okay, so you're saying if you go to GitHub CanJS?
Yes. Go to the main overview of CanJS repos.
Oh, okay. Routing or something.
There's something like route. Mini app, yeah, the last one.
Okay. Cool.
I don't want to be an what's it called if you that's maybe not secret, maybe.
No, this is not a secret.
Maybe Kevin won't talk about it, so I don't want to.
Forget Kevin. But as you can see, Kevin can talk about it later. But yeah, this is cool. So this is kind of the idea that Cher's talking about, is that your view would have just a tag, a magic tag for what component to show, and then in your view model, you construct based on that. You know, I want to show the page, the home, the login. Now in DoneJS, we'll use like what do you call it? Progressive loading. So you'll dynamically import it. Like here, we're importing everything statically, but we want to like this would probably return a promise for the particular component, but that's not a big deal. But yeah, this is the idea, is that instead of having that huge switch statement in your stash, well, you can do the same thing in your JavaScript. It just gives you a lot more flexibility, obviously, to do something like this in JavaScript. And in your view model, you can bind, use the value, use can value to bind stuff, or one-way bind or two-way bind, etc. So yeah. To answer your question, we do plan on doing this, but this means we're gonna change place my order to do it this way. So it's gonna take not a long time, but it's gonna take a little while just to update everything. But yeah, that's definitely the idea. So that's something to look forward to for CanJS, or excuse me, for DoneJS 3.
Like this, the routing will be more testable.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So you can actually take this view model and you can, like in this case, if you could take your view model, create a new instance of your view model, set logged in to false, and component to show should be a page login component, and it should have a view model with logged in property. You can kind of test those sorts of things, change the page and that kind of thing. Make sure everything's bound as well. yeah, definitely. Anytime you can take something out of stash, it becomes more testable. So that's good. The other topic that I had is kind of somewhat related because we have all of this new. It's not necessarily the routing as much, but Justin proposed a while back another way to do routing. One issue a lot of people have is having your application view model bound to the route can be problematic because a lot of people have stuff on their app state that they don't want in the URL. I don't know, have you ever ran into this, Julian? Where like in a DoneJS app, you don't want everything. You have to mark stuff as serialized false.
Yeah, I did that a lot. So
yeah,
would be a great idea to isolate the route object into its own property.
Yeah, this doesn't actually. I don't think this actually shows that in this particular issue. But the idea is to have you could have a view model which is just for your routing, and your application view model, that would be like a property on the application view model. And inside your application view model, you could set route.data to be like this.url view model or something. Just a way to set the main route.data be something other than the application view model, essentially. But that's kind of a problem for done auto render because done auto render just automatically always sets the application view model to be the route.data. So that kind of done auto render has a very specific sort of thing that it does, and it doesn't let you have control over this. It's not as low level as maybe perhaps we'd want it to be. So this is not something we're going to change in DoneJS 3 just because we don't want to delay it. But definitely in a future version, we're thinking about, I'm thinking about like maybe getting rid of done auto render completely. Because remember, we have, this is kind of how my proposal is a little bit different from Justin's, is that now we have auto mounting components, and we support web components as well. So you can just directly put your component into the page, and it would just automatically mount the CanJS. So that kind of takes away one thing that done auto render is. Well, I mean, done auto render doesn't automatically mount your components, but it does like replace everything with what gets rendered. But that kind of takes away the need. To me, it kind of somewhat takes away. It's something that done auto render doesn't really provide, I guess, is the thing. So what I was thinking is it would be nice if you could just directly give DoneSSR your main HTML page, which is just an actual real HTML page. And so when you're developing locally, you can just use this page, as you normally would. But DoneSSR could server render this page. And then we could not need done auto render at all, perhaps. So that presents some problems because, done auto render prevents your page is going to be completely server-side rendered. Like my app is going to be replaced by like all of its inner HTML, and we need a way to like rehydrate that in the client. So that kind of presents a problem. But it does give you more control because instead of having done auto render set up your routing for you, you could do that yourself. And this is an example of how that could work. Is you have, and this is what I was kind of talking about, is you have like a route data property, which is your route view model, and that has everything that's connected to the route. And then you can just directly set route.data to be that particular property, and that avoids having your application view model be the route data. But like I said, there are some problems here, but hopefully in a future version of DoneJS, we can figure that kind of thing out. And it won't be as much of a problem in the future. But yeah, I guess my thinking is done auto render has kind of served its purpose, but I feel like we're kind of reaching the limits of it to some degree. And to have more flexibility, which I mean, people are always asking for more flexibility, we might have to just kind of phase it out over time.
So why we can't implement that in the autorender right now? Because the autorender sets the view model to the route data, but we can change that it's looking for the view model route data and says that to route the route module.
We could, and that's kind of the difference between my proposal and Justin's. Justin's not saying get rid of done already, whereas mine's more extreme. Mine's more like far future looking. But yeah, we could change that on a render to allow this kind of thing. I think one idea was that if the user sets route.data, then we won't set it in done auto render if it's already been set. I think that's something we might be able to do. So that way you would have control. That would be kind of a stepping stone. That fixes this one particular issue, which is good, but there's other things about done auto render that are kind of weird. I know, Julian, you've noticed, and I'm not sure if we've ever properly fixed this, but like done auto render will like replace everything that's inside of the head, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't have something in your index stash but it's in your HTML but not in your index.stash, that gets removed. And we have a special attribute called keep, which will prevent that from happening. But that's just kind of a clunky way to do it, in my opinion. So the problem, where's that keep? I documented it. Yeah, you can set data keep on an element, and that will prevent it from being removed. But I guess the essential problem to me, well, there's kind of two problems. One is just that done auto render was made for server-side rendering. That's the primary purpose that it serves. But a lot of people want to use it just in a completely client-side app because they want to be able to put stuff in the head and have that be inside of a template, right? And done auto render provides that capability because you have an index.stash and that's your entire HTML page. But it doesn't do the client-side part very well because it renders everything inside of a zone by default, and there's a no zone option that you can use. But you don't really want that for a client-side app. So there's kind of this weird thing where it was really made for server-side rendering. However, like people want to use it in the client as well. And then, so if you're using it in the client, you already have an HTML page that you're using, but then you're also using index.stash, which is kind of a duplicate of your HTML page. So that's kind of where my idea comes from. It's just you already have to have some HTML anyway, so why don't we just use that, But then we do run into problems with my proposal. It's like, well, how do you update the head? Because this is not a stash file, right? So that we need to come up with some other mechanism for updating the head. Now, I give one idea here. If I'm talking too much, please interrupt me. But one idea I had was to have a can head element, and you can just put this inside of any stash file. And it will take anything, it will take the children and put that inside the head element, basically render this into the head. So that would be like a new project called CanHead or something. So that's like one problem that we have if we get rid of done auto render. Yeah, there's definitely more that I'm not thinking of at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's the impetus for the idea for me, is that just that done auto render doesn't serve all of the needs that everyone has very well. And a lot of this stuff you can do on your own. So maybe if we took kind of the good parts that exist in done auto render, such as the ability to render stuff inside of the head, and the ability to rehydrate from DoneJS from server-side rendering, and we put those into different projects, you know, where you could use those lower level things, I guess, then, you know, you could just use those lower level things and not even need done auto render.
Yeah, looks nice.
But yeah, like you're saying, in the meantime, we probably should sooner rather than later, because I know someone on Gitter, I think yesterday, was having an issue where he was calling route.start, and that was interfering with done auto render, which also calls route.start. So things were being bound too early, I believe. So I think we should maybe in the interim make it possible to do this kind of routing, and, you know, just make sure that if route data is set, that we won't reset it. Fix that so people will have a little bit easier time for now.
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right. So that's that. That's, like I said, that's we will probably fix done auto render sooner rather than later, but the other idea is a little bit into the future. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, not for me.
Cool.
Nope,
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, it was just kind of a small meeting today, just the three of us. Like Justin and Kevin are out today, but hopefully they'll be back in a couple weeks, and we'll do this again.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for viewing the DoneJS contributor meeting. I was trying to think, what is the day's date? Date's the 17th, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay. See you.
Bye.
Bye.